Hello and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren and today I'm going to look at an infographics video. This one is which mythology has the most powerful gods? I'm going to say not the Greeks. Norse is pretty good because again, especially with Greek gods, they started with the Titans and then moved down to gods after that. But with the Norse is pretty good. At least I'm thinking about creation myths specifically. I might go with Egypt just because I think the god who started he just created himself out of nowhere. Like, he's just like, I'm alive and God now. And then created a bunch of other stuff who became more gods. I don't know what they're going to tell me. I think it's not going to be Greeks. It's probably not going to be the Norse. Because, like, a lot of what they're good at is... it's just fighting and war, and there's some magic and artificing and stuff that goes on, but like not as much as in some other mythologies. I feel like Egypt has some pretty powerful gods. I feel like there's some pretty powerful gods in like the Hindu faith. I don't know. I mean, it might be the Greeks, honestly. They might actually do better than I think they do. I just kind of think of them as useless. And by useless, I mean, they're just all disasters. Which is fun for them. But I guess they have their domains, and they're able to control the things in those domains. I guess I was also trying to think powerful is like they're not going to have as much... they're not going to be as beholden to petty human foibles as the Greek gods are, but I guess we'll see what their criteria is and go from there.
In a battle of lightning powers, who would win? Hammer-wielding Thor or the mighty Zeus? Could the sun god Ra defeat Hades and escape his terrifying underworld? And could the third eye of Lord Shiva burn Anubis into ash? We'll measure the feats and statements of the gods of many different mythologies, weighing them against their own pantheons and their mightiest cosmic contemporaries around the world. And once we've cracked the code and run the numbers, we'll have definitive proof of which mythology has the most powerful gods. But before we start, we'd like to make it clear that whatever our findings are, this video is not meant to disparage anyone's genuine spiritual beliefs. Our depiction of the legendary figures and gods should be taken with a grain of salt and the knowledge that we don't claim to write the canon. With that small caveat out of the way, let's begin.
I'm guessing
the celestial
that
skirmish.
Christian mythos is not going to be involved in this at all, because otherwise, you've got the one god who can do all of it. And that feels OP and unfair. So I don't think he's going to be, because he would win, right? He's just the one dude and he can do it all. He can do all of the things that all of these folks can do.
By starting with some of the most well-studied gods in the world, the Olympic pantheon of Greek mythology. We've got some serious contenders, folks, from the lightning bolt hurtling sky god Zeus to the lord of the sea Poseidon to the master of the underworld Hades. These three brothers are the baseline for what makes a powerful mythological god. While most of the other Greek gods and goddesses are mighty in their own right, none can claim to be truly equal in prestige or power to Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. After the Titanomachy, a grand conflict where the gods overthrew the primeval Titans for control of the universe, Zeus and his two most famous siblings gambled amongst each other for who would lead the pantheon. Although Zeus won the coveted spot as father of man and leader of the gods, the fact that the brothers chose a game of chance implies that their skill in combat is comparable enough that a three-way battle between them would have had an uncertain outcome.
I feel like Zeus cheated. I don't have anything good to say about Zeus ever. I feel like he's a cheater.
Of course, this is not the only measuring stick for strength among the Greek trio. Each possesses its own special abilities, unique from the other two brothers. Hades, for example, possesses the supernatural power of invisibility, which, while not boasting the raw, destructive power of Zeus's lightning or Poseidon's oceanic storms, would give the Keeper of Souls an advantage in executing surprise attacks and retreating from the battlefield. The paranoia that
I think also, at least in, because the Romans came and they just took all the Greek gods and renamed them stuff. So at least when the time you got to Roman gods, Hades is not only the god of the human souls who have died, but also the god of things that are buried underground in general. So he's the god of all wealth as well, which is just, interesting.
Might come from Hades' potential presence would be enough to make any of his enemies wary, especially considering that he can manipulate the crust of the earth in order to create gaping chasms and fissures. When Hades stole Persephone from her mother, the earth goddess Demeter, He was able to open the earth, abduct his target, and disappear back below the ground while closing it behind him, all without being stopped by any of the other gods. Though Zeus's eventual intervention led to an uneasy compromise between Hades and Demeter, it is clear that Hades commands great power, especially within the territory of the underworld. As the one who judges the souls of the dead, Hades can inflict elaborate karmic punishments on any soul within his realm. The fate of King Sisyphus is one such example, condemned to forever push the same boulder up the same hill, only for it to tumble back down to the bottom every single time. This ability is less impressive, however, when you realize Hades can only use it on dead humans and quasi-divine beings, such as nymphs and naiads. It wouldn't help him win a bout against another god. His brother Poseidon is better known for messing with living heroes, including Odysseus, whom he turned the ocean against for many years. Though he is a marine god, Poseidon is able to cause terrible earthquakes, thus rendering Hades' geokinesis a non-factor in a fight between them. At sea, he can command the wind and rain.
I don't know if that would, because, like, Hades can, like, you know, because Poseidon can cause an earthquake, but Hades can just be like, I'm just gonna crack this boy open. I'm just going down, like, F off. I'll just go down below.
Stirring up powerful storms and tidal waves. His greatest feat, however, was creating horses, the equine animals that would go on to revolutionize warfare the world over, as well as become the favorite animal of many young children. Poseidon's powers are still limited, however, in comparison to his brother Zeus, who controls the sky above and can shake the earth just as easily while also dropping lightning bolts from on high. Zeus once defeated the monster Typhon, who was too fearsome for the other members of the Greek pantheon, by lifting up a mountain and hurling it into the creature's head. There's also the father of man's ability to shapeshift into anything from a white bowl to a beam of sunlight, which, while mostly used for recreational purposes, might have greater...
It is mostly used for forcing women who do not want to have sex with him to have sex with him, is what he mostly... Like, come on, Infographics. Is Zeus watching you film this with, like, a lightning bolt to your throat? Let's go, come on.
...capabilities than Zeus lets on. Through these three brothers who represent the pinnacle of the Olympian pantheon, we can understand that a truly powerful god must be able to command the elements throughout a major portion of the mortal realm, at least the earth, sea, or sky. Additionally, they must also be able to hold a position of authority or some important station within their pantheon without being meaningfully challenged by any similar god in that role. Let's see how these Olympians stack up as we move on to our next pantheon, the Norse gods. Even a cursory look at Norse cosmology reveals that the Viking pantheon resides within 9 realms, which are mostly within the control of their leader, Odin. A wise and shrewd chief god, Odin made bloody sacrifices to the universe in exchange for greater power. He obtained an infinite source of knowledge by dropping his eyes into the well of Mimir, gained the power to compel other beings through poetry by questing for the mead of inspiration, and became fluent in the runic alphabet and their magical properties by impaling and suspending himself from the Tree of Life for 9 days. Yeah, Norse legends are just kinda metal like that. While the mythological record doesn't feature Odin in combat as much as some of the other Norse gods, he is classified as a god of war due to being the ruler of Valhalla, a great hall for Viking warriors who met their fate in the heat of battle.
So, like, yeah, from what I understand, it's like I would never have considered, like, they can do some cool stuff, the Norse gods, but a lot of their, like, the things, they have to use things, like Mjolnir or, like, Odin, like, Gungnir, like, the spirit, like, they can do stuff, but they have to get most of these items from the dwarves. Like, the dwarves make them really cool weapons, and Odin, you know, is their liege lord, essentially. I think they swore fealty to him, but, like, because he's the ruler of all 9 realms. But, like, it's not like they're doing necessarily this stuff on their own. So, like, I would still say Greek gods over top Norse gods.
Odin is more than a mere fighter. He is a strategist of impeccable quality who has foreknowledge of all events within his 9 realms. Odin's wisdom places him a cut above the prior chief gods we've mentioned. For all their elemental fury, the Greek gods were defined in their actions by mortal flaws and pettiness. Zeus's lustful escapades, Poseidon's personal beefs with mortals, and Hades being afraid to leave home most of the time. We can at least relate to that last one. Odin would run circles around these predictable brothers with his intelligence, and his own sons may very well be the Olympians' rivals in terms of strength. His most celebrated offspring is Thor, the Norse god of thunder, who trivializes Zeus's lightning bolts with his own divine weapon, Mjolnir, a striking hammer or axe-like projectile that can kill most beings in the Nine Realms in a single blow, as well as summon storms and lightning.
See, I didn't know about the belt, but like I said though, but like Zeus can just do that. Thor needs the weapon, right? Like I think that in like the most recent like Marvel stuff, he can summon the lightning himself, but I feel like for a lot of the mythology, he needed the weapon to do it, which is why it was always a problem when it got lost. Because he lost that thing a lot. And it was always a big deal because it's such a powerful, magical item.
Thor's other artifacts include the Megingjord belt, which doubles his already godlike strength, and his chariot-pulling goats, Snarler and Grinder, who break mountains in half as they ride. From the looks of things, the Norse gods are simply operating at a higher level than the great gods. However, they do have a clear weakness, and that's their vulnerability to prophecy. Most of the Norse pantheons are fated to die tragically in a cataclysmic event known as Ragnarok. A lenient reading of this could imply that this means Odin, Thor, and the rest of the kin are invincible in any other battles besides the one destined to be their epilogue. But since we're measuring actual power and not the relative thickness of their plot armor, the fact that the Norse gods can die means they will inevitably die. Their immortality and their overall ability to win fights are limited by the existence of Ragnarok as a concept. In order to go to a higher level of power, we'll need to explore a pantheon that's transcended death itself. We'll have to take a trip down to the Nile River
Egypt
Valley
be good.
and meet the gods of the ancient Egyptian pantheon. Arising from a watery abyss of primordial chaos and building a new world out of the ether, the various Egyptian gods possessed the elemental control and vast knowledge of the chief gods of previous pantheons, but their portfolio also extends to such universal concepts as order and life itself. The god Osiris even survived his own murder at the hands of his brother Set, becoming a guardian of the underworld and
it's like, but I killed you, but I lived.
The judge of souls comparable to Hades. Osiris shares the responsibilities over the afterlife with Anubis, who was the original solemn caretaker of the souls before Osiris livened up the place. It can be a bit harder to conceive the power of many of the Egyptian gods, as most of them had more important things to do than get into fights. The Norse, and to a lesser extent Greek gods, were often understood through the lens of warfare, seeing as they had constant battles against mythical beings in many of their stories. The Egyptian pantheon, on the other hand, was rather uncontested in most of their duties, keeping the cosmos balanced as the thriving civilization that worshipped them continued to evolve politically. However, the cyclical, thrilling adventures of one particular deity demonstrates him to not only be a top-tier champion of battle, but also a god that completely transcends the limits of death. His name is Ra, king of the gods, and in addition to being the god of the sun, he is the creator of life and an essential part of Egyptian cosmology. Every day, Ra sails in a mystic divine boat that carries the sun through the sky, and every night when the sun goes down, Ra sails a different boat through the underworld and battles all the monsters of chaos and evil that exist there. Every morning, no matter how difficult the battles, Ra returns with the sun. It's one thing for Osiris to survive death, but for Ra to continually face the symbolic death of traveling.
That's why I was like, as soon as would Ra defeat Hades? Yeah, Ra would wipe the floor with him. Are you kidding me? Send Ra to Tartarus and get him to wipe all that shit out. Like, he would absolutely wreck everybody's shit. Like, I think I said at the beginning that I thought that the Egyptians would win, and I think I still might. Like, a lot of the Hindu gods are also really good. But I was like, the Egyptians are pretty good. And again, I would still put Norse under Greek, but I would not put either of them very high.
Into the underworld and returning makes him officially a being beyond the very concept of death. In addition, there are versions of Ra's lore that grant him power over the secretive names of all things. This magical ability is more powerful than Odin's manipulation of the runes, as Ra can wholesale speak beings into existence simply by calling out to their essence. This is an extension of Ra's ability to bring Me'at, or order, from Isfet, or chaos. In this way, Ra not only created the conditions for life to exist within his cosmology, but also gave humanity the capacity to create civilization and pursue higher-minded goals. In terms of power scale, we've gone from the Greek gods that have control over nature and the world of mortals, to the Norse pantheon that has control over many realms and forbidden knowledge, to Ra of the Egyptian gods, who oversees creation and exists above its limitations. This would seem to be the highest power level we can go, but there is one pantheon that reaches an even greater level of divine might. Can you guess which one? The Trimurti of Hindu mythology are a trio of
I knew
supreme
it.
deities
Haha.
that govern not only the creation and preservation of the universe, but also its destruction. However, to attempt to put the role of each member of the Trimurti so simply would be a disservice to how truly powerful they are. In a cosmology where the aspects of creation, destruction, and preservation are given equal weight, our mortal conception of what these processes even mean is called into question. Brahma is the god of creation among the Trimurti, and his origin has a few similarities to the rise of the Egyptian gods. Before Brahma existed, there was only a vast ocean of nothingness, and then he hatched from a golden egg that he himself created before he existed. Once he had a...
See, I think that might have been what I was thinking of. I mentioned that earlier, but I couldn't remember if that was Ra or not. But I think, okay. But I remembered learning about, like, one of the gods who just decided to be born.
Shed in his eggshell, the first god in the Trimurti created all the planets and stars as well as the living things that populated his creation. The exact details of Brahma's role in the Trimurti beyond this description are the subject of continuing academic study and debate. But it's important to note, for the sake of gauging his power, that Brahma can return to creation from absolute nothingness. This means that no force of destruction, not even the next member of the Trimurti who we'll get to, can truly prevent Brahma from simply existing again and creating an entirely new universe. This proves to be one of the only conceivable blind spots of Lord Shiva, who is sometimes referred to as the Destroyer in the context of his role in the Trimurti. Though this title sounds ominous, Shiva is not an evil being. He is in fact, among other things, a yoga instructor and a music teacher who bestows cosmic wisdom upon mortals and gods alike.
Destroy a demon.
His true nature is
BRB.
not violent, though he is certainly capable of it when there are demons to destroy. Rather, it's more accurate to think of Shiva as a being that personifies necessary change. Much like the dimension of time, Shiva is impartial and total in his destructive potential. This is shown in one of his iconic aspects, the third eye, which can reduce anything, including other gods, to mere ashes. Once this cycle of reality reaches its natural stopping point, Shiva will destroy every part of the universe and leave behind only nothingness. But as we've established, Brahma can simply bring it all back. But a universe of only creation and destruction wouldn't truly exist in any meaningful way, which is why Vishnu, the third member of the Trimurti, tends to its preservation in his many avatars. Now, on paper, it would seem as though Vishnu could be equal in power to the gods of absolute creation and absolute destruction, but there are several stories that show how powerful he is. Across many of their shared myths, Vishnu and Shiva have fought several one-on-one duels, and the winner is different every time. It's therefore generally believed that the two rival each other in fighting ability. This makes intuitive sense, as Vishnu wouldn't be much of a preserver if he was easily bowled over by destruction. Though given that change is inevitable, Vishnu will sometimes allow himself to take the L if it means something good for the continuation of the universe in whatever form that may be. When comparing the chief gods across these many mythologies and belief systems, there is no contest that the Trimurti rank highest in terms of power, followed by Ra, then Odin, then Zeus. But the world is much bigger than these mythologies, and there are many other gods out there in the collective human consciousness that have been worshipped as the mightiest of all. So, what god do you think is the strongest? Is there a mythology you want us to explore next? Leave your comments down below. Now check out the real story of the 300 Battle of Thermopylae, or watch this video instead.
All right, so again, I would still, I think, probably put the Greeks above the Norse. I mean, the Norse are way metal, right? But if we're just looking at, like, dropping some folks into a ring and having them, like, go at it, I mean, because the Greeks have Athena, you know, they do have a goddess of strategy and battle. So it's like, you know, like, if it's sort of like Superman v Batman, right? Because if you had a second to just, if you've got 10 seconds, go, Superman wins, right? But if Batman has time to plan and, like, get his gear together, he will win. Odin needs more stuff, I think, than Zeus would need, like, or the Greek gods. They just have power over the elements. But again, like I said before, it's like they are you know, subject to very human foibles, and they're really petty and like small sometimes. But so are the Norse gods. Like the Norse gods like have just as much infighting as the Greeks do. And like, you know, if you got Loki in there causing trouble, like might have some issues also. So I don't know. I would probably still put the Norse below the Greeks, just in terms of just sheer power level. Cause yeah, they might be able to win if like with a full on like battle with time to prepare. But if they don't have that time, I don't think so. But I agree with where you placed the Egyptian and Hindu gods. That's basically what I said at the beginning. So I was pretty sure that they were going to win anyway. But thank you so much for watching. I was interested in this. I hope you were too. Go ahead and let me know what I should look at next. I will see you all in the next video.